Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is August 9th, and right now we're looking at the mid-level water vapor loop. You can see British Columbia, Washington, Oregon. You can see our weak frontal system sliding across BC, Washington, down through Oregon, bringing some light precipitation across the region. Better amounts the further you go north into the west here, and we're going to keep this onshore flow going here for the next few days. Then we're going to start to build this ridge here off the coastline, and that's the big question right now is just how warm we're going to get as we head towards next week. Let's check that out here. First, let's look at the visible satellite imagery here, though, and you can kind of see that weak frontal system, the onshore flow. Nothing too impressive. Pretty typical with these summertime frontal systems. They just don't quite pack the punch that they will during the fall and winter months. And if you guys want a nice, affordable home weather station, click on the link down below to save 10% off. Great smartphone app stores all the data for you in the cloud. And this is looking up towards Omak, for example. Looks like it rained for about 32 minutes today, 100th of an inch there. Yeah, so not bad. And you can click on any one of these individual locations, including some across the western coast of Vancouver Island as well, where it's been raining this morning and yesterday as well. So interesting stuff. Highly recommend that weather station. Looking at SeaTac yesterday, nice day out there, 79 degrees, right about average, no precipitation. Will we tip the bucket today? Yet to be seen. I saw that it was raining a little bit out here this morning, and you can see if you look back into the past, some of the record highs during this time of the year can get pretty toasty out there. How warm will we get this upcoming week? We'll take a look at that here in a moment. But first, looking at the Cocoa Raws, you can see there are getting some nice precipitation amounts across some of Vancouver, the international airport out there, and some of the metro area, Nanaimo, and you can see lesser amounts more south. You go through the Puget Sound here, just a few hundredths of an inch showing up there, but at least it's something here, and the onshore flow will keep us cool for the next few days, seasonably cool. And this is kind of looking at the wider scale view of things here on the Windy app. You can see these systems don't quite pack a punch this time of year. You can kind of see that frontal system as it was moving through this morning out there. But yeah, this is typical summertime stuff. When these frontal systems move through, they usually don't have too much energy behind them. This is looking at the NAM3 cam composite reflectivity. If I put this in motion, you can kind of see this as we go through this morning hour here, and then you can kind of see the spotty hit and miss nature as we keep the onshore flow going. It shows a little bit of a convergence zone forming as we go through this evening and towards the night hours across places, mainly north of Seattle, maybe northwest here, across some of Everett here and whatnot too, but not too big of a deal. Not expecting heavy precipitation amounts with that. And then you can see as we move on through Thursday and Friday, we're going to start to dry out here as we go towards the weekend and early next week. Here we go with Seattle International. The control one actually showed about, 14 hundredths of an inch. I don't think we're going to get there at all. I'd be happy with just a few hundredths here. I think I might have been overdoing it in the European a little bit here. Quileute, of course, better chances on the Washington coastline, especially northwest Washington coast. The whole rainforest getting some decent precip out of this system. Bowerman Airport, Hoquiam, you can see maybe a couple tenths of an inch there. I know some places we're getting a little bit of measurable precip there this morning on the coast as well. Now let's take a look at what's coming. You can see the European, this is yesterday afternoons versus yesterday mornings. We're going to compare the trend a little bit here. You can see the system moving in, onshore flow, then the ridge slowly starts to develop here. You know, it does amplify a bit less here. We've been downtrending on the European runs here recently, just on the strength of this ridge. And as we scroll through, this would be about Sunday morning. You can clearly see that nut in 594. The thickness of the atmosphere is a little bit more robust, a little bit further north here on yesterday morning's run here. So trended downwards a little bit. You can kind of see the ridge does build fairly strong here off the coastline. But again, with the downward trend, and you kind of see this trough, this backdoor trough here, would keep us cooler underneath this scenario here. If this ridge was over the top of us, we could be talking about potential record temperatures here. And we are going to warm up, but just how much is still in some questions. You can kind of see the cat and mouse game going on here between the ridging and the troughing here over central portions of Canada, trying to dip down into the USA here as well. So this is what we're watching here over the next few days. We'll check out the temperatures right now, but I'll show you that there is some still pretty good ensemble spread as we look on into next week. This is the GFS. Let's compare the GFS versus itself. This is this morning's run, hot off the presses, 12Z. This is yesterday morning's run, 12Z as well. And we'll put that into motion. There goes our system. Then we start to slowly build the heights here off the coastline. And the GFS kind of bounced back a little bit in some of the ridge strength here as we go through this weekend. But you can still kind of see the zonal flow in this trough hanging around some portions of Canada here. And as we build the ridge off the shoreline here. And again, if this is a little bit further east here, we'd definitely be talking about some record temperatures possible. But right now, we're just going to warm up, and we're still right on the borderline here, getting pretty warm and hot versus kind of staying just, pretty typical summertime stuff where you're just kind of above average. This is looking at the European versus itself as well, yesterday afternoons versus yesterday morning. And this kind of shows the actual heights a little bit better here without the anomaly shading over it. And you can kind of see the downward trend a little bit in some of the ridging offshore. So we continue off a little bit more, and you can see the ridge just not quite as strong here in more recent runs there. And it's, just positioned far enough west where it's not going to allow us to really start to cook here across Pacific Northwest. That being said, some places like the Willamette Valley are going to get pretty warm in places east of the Cascades as well. But I don't know if we'll be looking at record high temperatures. And then the European, off to the extent it kind of showing somewhat of a troughing signal here as we start to go through the later portions of August. Take that with a grain of salt at this point. Here we go for Portland. Check it out. Some temperatures up into over the 90s, potentially, 4 or 5 days, 90 plus here for Portland. You can see the average temperature this time of year. So we are looking like we're going to warm up here, but I don't think we're going to be hitting record temperatures. And again, caution, look at the spread in some of the ensemble members here. So we are looking at a pretty good variability in the forecast. So we need to watch this closely here over the next couple of days to see if we can consolidate things. This is Portland on the GFS, again showing nice and warm for 4 or 5 days here, 90 plus possible. But again, we'll be watching this over the next couple of days. Things will become more clear. Astoria, you can see the bump up in temperatures, but the big spread in the ensembles here shows the low forecast confidence as we go on into next week. Hopefully in Washington, similar signal there. Seattle also, but you're still looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 days, 80 plus here coming up. And of course, this ridge just bounces a little bit east, a hair more, and the thermal trough's a little bit stronger. We could easily push up into the upper 80s towards 90 degrees here, but it's something we'll watch over the few days. As you can see the big ensemble spread there as well. GFS, something similar here. You can see by the time we get towards Friday and Saturday, we are warming back up here, and then we start to get a bit toasty as we go through the mid portion of next week. And again, check in tomorrow for more on this update heat wave coming up here, folks, because, we have pretty good ensemble spread as we're looking off into the extended. You can see Spokane's bump here as well as we go through the weekend and early on through next week. This is something interesting here. So this is the European ensemble member. This is probability of 2 meter max temperature at or above 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So this would be for... Let's scroll ahead a little bit here. So this would be for today. You see the Willamette Valley has the chance of going up towards 80 degrees here. The dark red shading here is about 90 to 100%. As you can see, Eastern Washington, Willamette Valley. Good chance today as you go through the afternoon hours to get into 80 degrees. So we go through Thursday, again, the Willamette Valley, Eastern Washington, Oregon, down through California, but not much showing up here across Vancouver Island, Western BC, or Western Washington just yet. As we get towards Friday, you can see this is moving up into the Puget Sound now as we start that warm up here on Friday. Saturday, you can see the probabilities start to extend up into the Puget Sound again here as well, into the valleys of BC also. And here we are through Sunday afternoon. Check it out. Likely an 80 plus degree day here across a lot of Western Washington, even portions of Vancouver Island. As you can see, the temperatures really bouncing back. There's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You get the picture here. We are going to warm up. I just don't think we're going to be setting records here across some of the metro areas comparable to some of our past temperatures we get in mid-July. But you can see the warmth all the way through August 18th and 19th shown there. Now let's take a look at this. Probability of 90 degrees greater at or above 90 degrees here. So let's scroll ahead here until Friday afternoon. You can see some of that's trying to work into Southwest Oregon, Eastern Washington. This would be for Saturday. Look at the Willamette Valley starting to introduce probabilities of 90 degree day or more as we go through Sunday here. You can see that kind of creeping towards the Puget Sound. Look at the Willamette Valley. Good chances for a 90 plus day for many areas across the Willamette Valley all the way up through the Portland metro. As we go through Sunday, this would be Monday, Tuesday, actually it stopped at 144. So this would be Monday here. This is the 060 run that only goes out 144 hours. But you can see that Monday we start to get these temperatures potentially, Southwest Washington, maybe up into the Puget Sound, a 90 degree day, not out of the realm of possibility here. And of course, Eastern Washington, Willamette Valley, Southwest Oregon, Eastern Oregon as well, nice and toasty. And here we go with the 100-meter wind speed. What we're looking for here is to see if we're going to get any offshore wind. I didn't see much of a signal when I ran through this at first, but as we go through the weekend, kind of the onshore flow gradient start to relax a bit, and you can see a brief period here as we go through Saturday night and Sunday morning, some of this flow coming down off of BC, a little bit of an offshore flow as we get somewhat of a thermal trough developing here Sunday morning off the coastline, but it looks like it's going to be short-lived if you believe the European, and you can see that onshore flow start to return by the time you get into Monday. So no big signal signal of big sweeping offshore winds right now, bringing a lot of that smoke across BC and some of the sourdough fire and Eagle Bluff back into western Washington or Oregon right now. But we have to watch that closely, something we'll be watching here over the next few days. And you can kind of see that onshore flow continuing here, even though we are going to warm up. Here we go, 6 to 10 day all the way through August 18th. You can clearly see the bullseye here across the Pacific Northwest. This goes through August 22nd, 8 to 14 day here as well. And after the system rolls through here, we're going to shut down the precip for a while, it looks like, in the 6 to 10 day. And of course, when we warm up as we go through this weekend and on in through next week, especially with some of these gusty westerly winds on the east slopes of the Cascades, it doesn't take much. I mean, we're probably going to be an elevated risk here for a lot of areas, Cascades on through the east here, pretty typical summertime stuff. And we talked about this the last few days here. Strong El Nino would be about 1.5 right here. Virtually all the European ensembles show that we are headed towards a strong El Nino coming up here, something we'll be watching through the fall months coming up. And this is August 1st through August 8th. You can kind of see above average for some of western Washington, western Oregon, and the Washington coastline here. And we got this very warm water off the coastline as well, which is not going to allow our temperatures to drop back down probably as much as they would anyway, obviously, if the water was a little bit chillier off the coastline here. But you can see the rest of the country, how they're doing so far this August as well. But anyway, yeah, this weak frontal system rolling through, kind of hit and miss showers going on today. If you're lucky, you'll pick up a few hundredths of an inch here if the Seattle metro. Maybe get a little bit of activity down through the northwest Oregon coast into the Portland metro as well. Looked like a little bit of rain was trying to fall across eastern Washington also. But yeah, so we'll check this out again tomorrow. We'll take a look at that ridge, see what it's going to do. We'll try to consolidate these forecasts. We're right on that borderline of trying to determine how much we're going to warm up. It's kind of a tricky forecast. As you guys can see, that ridge has been downtrending in the strength, but it does continue to show it building off our coastline. So anyway, we'll do this again tomorrow. Hope you guys are liking these videos. Click your notifications on if you would. It helps the channel, the algorithm and whatnot. And we'll do this again tomorrow, and I'll talk to you guys then.